It's a sad time, I guess. That's the best way to describe it. The final episode of Orb on the Moons of the Earth, the anime series. Is it working? We're good. We certainly are. Sorry, the last I would say 24 hours. I kind of feel like everything's changed. I don't know what's changed. It's annoying me. Anywho, we actually are to watch episode 25 of Orb. As we know, this is the final episode, and it's like surreal to think that the series is basically over now. It's been like 6 months since this show first came out, and yeah, I mean, it's just a sad time because this is kind of my comfort show. I like watching this every single week. I mean, it causes me irreparable emotional damage, but besides that, it is just a really nice show to watch every single week, and to see it go, it's like I don't know. I haven't had this feeling with an anime series in a very long time. I think the last time it's ever happened with me was Banana Fish. Like when I saw it series end. It's like, oh, it's ended now. Now what do I do with my life, basically? And it's kind of going to be the overarching problem now. I'm like, what do I do now? What do I watch? Because this show has just had such an impact on me. I'm just like, I just don't know whether or not anything else would match this, if that makes sense. Right, it's actually put on Twitter, actually going live. Right, Twitter, you working? Twitter is working, thankfully. Alright, so streaming. I actually type that is. Come by and get comfy as we watch the final episode. It just feels so weird. It doesn't feel right. This to say the final episode. And I just been with the series for like half a year. It's like I kind of feel like the longer series is you just don't really kind of like what's the word? You don't register that it finishes basically. If that makes sense. It never kind of feels like okay, well, yeah, this is one episode because you've been with it so long. It's like how? What do you mean it's ending? Anywho, let's start this thing in 3, 2, 1. Let's start this thing absolutely now. Let's have alternate raffle as well. Debatable. Kind of like it's just one of those things. It's just interesting to kind of start the series with raffle and end the series. It kind of, in a very punful way, brings the whole thing full circle. I always kind of feel like this series does sort of have that, like, the concept of like preservation, like the idea that we shouldn't really let the history kind of. It's an obvious thing, don't get me wrong, but if you kind of live in the space on the internet at the moment, you sort of get like how fragile history is because it's kind of in a roundabout way. I keep saying that. Um, it sort of applies to this show as well. Like maybe one day will people remember this show? Will it be remembered as like will people think about it? So it's one of the things that we have to like keep these things alive because we're pretty much the only people that can. I don't know. I always found series that deal with this concept quite interesting. It's one of those things you just. I mean, like I said, the only other show I can think of that does this is Golden Kamuy. Like idea that we need to keep history alive because history is like this important thing. And I kind of feel like the historical shows aren't like something that's like extremely like what's the word non-existent. You do get history shows like a load, but I kind of feel like it's always focused on like a very known point in history. You don't really get like the very very esoteric points of history. Like this one, kind of it's not esoteric. It's not something that no one knew about, but it more so like only a set few knew about it. So now we have this show that kind of brings it more to light. So it's one of those things that I kind of feel like we need more shows like this to kind of give light to history that isn't so prevalent in society itself. Because yeah, I mean, you can get like a 1500s show all the time or something about like a well-known historical figure, but we know about them. What more can you do about them that stands out? What don't we know about them? This show kind of does something very interesting by actually giving us that, basically giving us a part of history we haven't seen before or very much shown in a very interesting manner that is engaging, that sticks with you. Because again, it has to stick with you as well, because you can't really just do a historical show and just call it a day. Like you have to do something that makes it stand out. I kind of feel like this is one of the only shows that's really just it feels like it cares, if you get what I mean. Besides Golden Kamuy, of course. It also kind of feel like shows and media itself is like goes in one ear out the other, as we say in England. It's one of those things that I always fear like disposable media is kind of like becoming more prevalent, so we need more shows that just really stick with you. And I kind of felt like this is one of the shows for me. Example, this is probably one of those shows in the last like 5 years that I can honestly say it's sticking with me more so than other shows I've seen. I always kind of felt like it was a bit weird whether or not the show's trying to like some of the character designs remind me of other characters. I don't know whether or not that was always on purpose. As I said, I think I've had that thought in the manga series as well. Like some of the character designs remind me of people. I don't know whether or not it's just meant to evoke that whole idea. I was waiting for this moment because I was like, anyways, I was like, I wonder what everyone would think about it. Like, this is one of those moments. I'm like, oh, when I read it, I was like, wait, what? It's just, it comes out of the blue so hard. You're like, wait, what? I just love how nonchalant he is about it. I know people do say like this is a raffle that his beliefs taken to the extreme, essentially, or hit like him because the problem is with Raffles' character because his future was cut so short. We don't necessarily know what he would have done in the future. So it's one of those interesting things that we kind of now seeing that. So it doesn't skewer so much the Raffle we know in well again it's contested whether or not this is a different timeline, but the one we saw in episode 1 to 3 but it's interesting to see what could have been effectively. That's why I kind of feel like this ending does make sense. It is a little bit left fielded. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. Just love how it's like, yeah, I shouldn't speak ill about him. I just did. I did. You know, him and him though. What I'm just saying, there's probably ways you could have done that without, killing him. I always kind of feel like that's what this show does do also as well. Per arc gives you like a different way of viewing certain things. Because the first arc, there was like, on the second arc, technically speaking, as well, there was like the idea that speech really couldn't, you couldn't really like say anything because you went against, the church. But in the third arc, that sort of changed. Like the idea that there was like people speaking to one another, and I kind of feel like again, it's changed here even more so as well. It's a different way. Again, this show is endlessly fascinating because it always kind of subverts a lot of what you've seen beforehand completely. I mean, it's even in a less literal sense. I kind of feel like, yeah, literally, it does subvert your expectations because you didn't think Raffle would, stab someone. But there you go. I also kind of feel like I've been saying it quite a lot, but this show feels like it feels so dense for like what is otherwise just 2 episodes. Effectively, it's like you can't kind of be following this for the whole entire year. It's quite interesting how the pacing works in the show. I'd say that there is things that do sort of skewer the whole theory that this is a different timeline. That's why I kind of feel like your own interpretation kind of does, in theory, go a long way. I kind of feel like there's just certain things that you make me go, hmm. I feel like I kind of feel like there's just purposeful things here that make you. Because again, I don't. I feel like what this arc does, it makes you question a lot of things. It makes you kind of draw your own conclusions, but you have to like reread it, rewatch it multiple times because there's a lot to take in this arc. And I kind of feel like there's not really a definitive answer. If that makes sense, I kind of feel like whatever your own thought and theory is, it just as how it is, bro. Basically, it's not open ended in that kind of like very literal sense, but more so in like the kind of like if whatever you get out of it is what you think about it, essentially. That's why I like it a lot as well. Is the idea that I kind of like reading everyone's like thoughts and theories on this whole entire thing because it's just always a very interesting concept. Dude's Orban. Dude is Orban. He's doing the orb. I also do kind of like the idea of like how connected we all are as well. I know it's an obvious thing, but you kind of get what I mean. Like the idea in a disconnected world, we really are connected. We are bowl accounts like Raffle said at the end of last arc. We are we are comrades making this era. I kind of feel like it's really important, the idea, like, how it makes you kind of feel a little bit, like I don't know how to explain it, but you don't ever really feel like you're alone in this world, if that makes sense. It kind of it gives you a nice, like, sense of hope effectively. I feel it's kind of important in this day and age as well. I feel like a lot of what this show does do in this current year and this current era as well is really important. Man. God damn it. I think someone did point it out as well, like, the idea of that each person views something at different points of the day as well. I kind of thought that was actually quite a nice way to make it go full circle as well. Oh, here we go. Oh shoot, now he's gonna be Orban even more. That's the question mark. This is why I kind of feel like it does sort of take place in its own, like, ti time effectively, is because it kind of does then go back to the whole idea of, like, him being a real person. Oh, Copernicus. Here we go. There's Copernicus. There we go. That's the end. Oh man, it's kind of sad to see a series go, really, because again, it is one of those things that is a comfort show for me. It was one of those ones that really it did help a lot last year and this year as well. I just don't want to see it go. And now I'm seeing it go because I know we're not getting Uruto's other work animated just yet. I know Hyakuemu is like somewhere in the ether of being adapted, but I really want to read Hyakuemu and it's not been translated yet. I was like, man, my Japanese isn't that good just yet to be able to read it. So I was kind of hoping that we might get something just to kind of quell the hole in my heart now that the series has ended. But alas, I guess I'll wait, as I always do. I'll wait for that inevitable good show to come along. It makes you go, holy shit, this is what I've been waiting for. I'm kind of hoping G-Quacks is out next season, but I don't know. I know that's the problem. It's just again, I know you kind of get it. You kind of see it how sparse I am with shows nowadays because a lot of shows don't tend to interest me as much as this one has. This one's grabbed me and wouldn't let go, and it's gonna be hard to find a show that does this again for a very long time. 'Cause again, the only other show done this prior to this was Banana Fish. I kind of feel like that was like the last like show that made me go whoa. Hey, look, that was also kind of a cool ending as well. Um, But yeah, I just don't know. I want there to be I want to experience peak even more so, but I just don't know whether or not I'm going to experience like how good this show was again. And if that's the case, I'm alright with it because this show is just brilliant. Oh man. It is my favorite manga of all time. I do absolutely adore the manga. Anime wise, I do believe it's probably one of like it's a classic. I would say the only problem I kind of felt with the show, because I read the manga, was the pacing during the middle-ish section was a little bit kind of funky. It's less to do with the material, more so to just to do with the medium itself. Like he can't really adapt something and then it kind of flow all consistently without it being like a few hiccups here and there because the manga, if you read it all in one go, it does sort of flow brilliantly. I kind of feel like if you read that maybe monthly or weekly, it might be a little bit like, where it kind of finishes off on as well. But I kind of feel like it's kind of the only issue I had with it. It doesn't devalue the show at all. No, it doesn't really. I don't really kind of feel like, oh god, no. It's not it's unwatchable effectively. No, I always will say watch the series. It's brilliant. It's like one of the best series probably will ever get for a very long time. And yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like this episode really does, in theory, just kind of prove it. Like, yeah, it's a bit weird that we went from going from seeing our favorite characters unceremoniously killed to a new character, but I kind of feel like what it does give us is that like kind of what if scenario, and I kind of like it's important because Raffles' life was cut short. We never would have seen what he would have done later because of what happened to him, and also the stinger was what Antonio said to not said to Raffles, said to Nowak, the idea that effectively you weren't really doing anything for the betterment of the church, you're just doing it for your own personal gain. Effectively, it was just your own thing, and it kind of hurts because lives were cut short because of that reason. But even more so with Raffle, we what could have been if he had went on to actually study and actually did his thing. And this one kind of gives us the more extreme, I guess, scenario more so than anything else. Like, kind of, it's an interesting way to finish a series off because it's like you don't really get that very often with series that kind of go in a very very interesting direction like this. Because again, don't get me wrong, there have been shows that do a what if X happens or what if this didn't happen, this happens instead. But it never really feels like it does anything out of the ordinary. It really feels like it does like you're like, oh my god, okay, that was cool. Or what the hell, basically. This show is very special for that reason because it makes you go, huh, okay. Well, okay, that was now we know effectively. I love this series for that reason. I just kind of feel like it throws curveballs, but the curveballs it throws make sense. And it doesn't really feel like why are we doing this effectively? It never feels like that. It feels like everything's important and actually betters some kind of plot in there as well. And now it's over. And now I'm sad because I just don't have the series anymore. I finished the manga. I was like, oh, damn. And now I finished the anime. I'm like, fuck. What do I do now? I don't know whether or not I don't know whether or not I find a show like this ever again, or whether or not I find a show that kind of fills that void because it's going to be a long time before I do. And yeah, I mean, if you're feeling the void of, yeah, if you haven't read the series and actually want to read it as well, I would recommend reading it because the pacing itself is brilliant in the manga. The paneling is incredible as well, and I always will say that it's probably my favorite way to experience Orb. The anime is amazing because of the voice actors. I feel like the voice actors really do elevate the material, but I kind of feel like the way the way the manga like develops, and actually the way it's paneled and everything like that is like it's almost like you're watching something rather than reading something. It really feels like a reading, if that makes sense. I kind of feel like it's a very cool thing that the manga does that you don't really see it very often. Again, the only other person I know that does that very damn well used to at least, was Fujimoto with Chainsaw Man and Fire Punch. Like that's the reason why I like Fire Punch so much because it feels like a movie, like you're reading a movie, and I kind of feel like the same thing with Orb. Orb feels like a movie. But yeah, I mean, it's incredible how this show basically came out of nowhere. Like it really did. I know, don't get me wrong. I know in Japan this series is like mega popular. Like I know how everyone was like, "Oh my god, finally a series is getting adapted." But over here, I didn't really hear a single thing about it until I was recommended to watch it and read it, and then I like, holy shit, where's this been my entire life? And I feel like I feel that's what we need more of. We need more shows like this, the one that just come out of left field, rather than like the token series of the season. We need shows like this that just really come out of left field and really do surprise you. And yeah, I do like the what this series does do. It looks at preservation as well, and it makes it into a very important factor. And I kind of feel like we need shows like this. We need shows from a historical point of view that is very underutilized. Because again, like I said during the stream, yeah, um, like with the history we know, the history we got taught in school is dime a dozen. We've seen it adapted billions of times, and it's stale after a while because you're like, I know about this. What else can you do to make it a bit more interesting? Sometimes they focus on one person you might not have known about, and it kind of does sort of elevate it a bit beyond. But you're kind of still under the same framing of that period of time. It doesn't really feel like anything more than just it's the period of time, but it's one person within that period of time. And I kind of feel like what this show did do, it kind of gave us an underutilized concept within this world that we kind of do know because the astrology has always been there, but we're not really ever like looked beyond that point and actually looked at who's actually important within that whole entire field. And I kind of liked how we actually now have this series to actually look at as well, to actually kind of like tell us more about the actual all of this effectively. And that's why I love it. That's why I love it so much because I love learning about history that I otherwise would never have learned about because that's the thing I love most in the world. I love learning about history. And when a series gives me a history I've never seen in my life before, I will eat that up like no one's business. And yeah, I just kind of want more shows like this. I want the preservation of this kind of history. I want people to kind of view this and actually be like, yeah, we need more shows like this. We don't need token shows we see all the time. We need more shows like this that really do elevate the medium because again, anime itself is a very important medium. It's something we can do so much here, and I kind of feel like we need more of this effectively. And I love how Madhouse really has had his renaissance recently because Madhouse has been one of the studios that sort of waned a bit in the mid 2010s. They kind of had like their peak in like the beginning parts of the 2000s, stroke the ends of the 2000s. The 2010s to the 2020s were a little bit kind of shaky with Madhouse. They were alright. It just it wasn't like they had like One Punch Man, but then there was other shows make you go, I don't really remember. I don't remember this that they made this effectively kind of shows. And then we've had this renaissance with them. And I kind of feel like it's important that they continue in this trajectory. We need more shows that actually make us realize that Madhouse was that powerhouse when we were younger. Because again, I want to go into that period in time when I will look forward to a Madhouse series every single season. You're like, this is gonna be peak, and yeah, now we have it. We have the peak back. So how can I hope they do continue in this way? I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong, the production here was a little bit shaky here and there, but again, like I said, it doesn't devalue anything. This show is still a masterpiece through and through. It's still gonna be one of those shows I'll never forget about because it is brilliant and it's important as well. And I kind of feel like that's the important idea. It's important. We'll always remember this show. And I kind of feel like that's what they're trying to make us do. They want us to remember. They want us to keep this alive, and I kind of feel like we need to. It's just important. We don't ever kind of let shows like this ever kind of fall to the wayside. We need to keep important media like this alive for the rest of the time. And I hope people do enjoy this series. I absolutely adore it. I feel like it's just nothing like it. So I hope I hope that now it's finished and people haven't picked it up just yet. They want to see it finished, actually just marathon through it. I kind of hope people do actually enjoy it because it is fucking brilliant. It's one of those ones that we'll never see ever again, I don't think, or for a very long time. And I'm sad. Again, I don't know whether or not I'll watch anything next season because again, it's like looking next season. I kind of don't know if there's anything there that I'm hugely interested in that I haven't read beforehand or I can read and get a better experience out of. Quality Generic Romance was the one I was looking forward to most. The PV kind of made me go, I don't know, voice actors are kind of elevating this one more than the actual material. Well, not the material itself. The material itself is brilliant, but the actual anime itself is just a little bit. G-Quacks might do it. I don't know. I'm kind of hoping it does, but I need to see the movie first. And the movie is not showing anywhere where I live, so I'm stuck with that one. I'm stuck without being able to see that one. Hopefully, Amazon might release it before the anime premieres. Who knows? And I think that was really it. That was like, ooh, that was kind of cool. But yeah, that's it. That's me done for today. That's me done for like Orb in general as well. If Haku Emu gets translated or Mr. Is it Doctor Beetle as well? That's the other one I think he did, or the other one he did as well. Ever get translated, I'll come back and read those as well. And yeah, or if I'm ever get like extremely good at Japanese in the meantime, I'll read it in Japanese. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows what the future holds? And yeah, I mean, do apologize for how spotty my schedule is. I will hopefully be back to doing certain things here and there. I just have to kind of get like, I don't know. I kind of like it's sunk in this week that this series is over now, and I kind of feel like I just don't know whether or not I can actually like properly ever get into anything ever again. Same way I did with this. And yeah, I mean, it's been a depressing feeling. I've not felt this in a while, and I'm just kind of sad about it. So I might be a bit of time before I come back, but don't worry, I'll be back at some point and watching something or reading something, and actually then be losing my mind on camera about it again. I hope. So yeah, I do actually hope you actually have enjoyed the series of me covering this series. I've absolutely adored it, both in manga and in anime form. So I just hope everyone else enjoys the series. I hope everyone picks it up and actually watches it because it is very near and dear to my heart. I absolutely adore it. I'm about to fucking cry. So yeah, I'm gonna lie down, cry for a long while that this series is now over, and I'll see whenever I stream next, and actually whatever I stream next as well. So yeah, that is me done for today. So as always, you actually have enjoyed this whole entire stream as a whole on Twitch. And as always, do leave a follow on Twitch. That's helped quite a bit. You tend to see these streams live. See me cry my eyes out live on stream as well. If you have then enjoyed this whole entire stream series on YouTube as well, always do as always, leave a like and a sub. Both do help quite a lot. Leave a follow on Twitter as well. Helps quite a bit. Also, actually will then know when streams are live and any other streams I may do as well. So yeah, for final time, I have been a driver. Actually, have enjoyed this whole entire series of me covering this series. I'll see everyone later on whatever I cover next. Until then, see everyone later. Bye for now.